For me, start off on Chalet. West Garfield, they went here. It is a bold pick, but they get to start on the defense. That I mentioned that's where Rebels struggled on the attack. I think there was a lot of things lining up for the Rebels to exploit West Garfield, but then there's also West Garfield. There's a lot of things in play that you're never going to know what's actually going to happen until you see the game in action. That's like half our job is predicting what's going to happen, analyzing how past experiences are going to shape what we're going to see, but also you never know how things are going to shake down until you actually see them live in person. And as we start this first map, we're trudging through these bands and nothing too crazy off the bat. Solus, Ging, Nook, all pretty typical overall. They can fit on most of these maps.
Yeah, and nothing out of the norm for what these teams have banned all season. For the notes that I kind of have is West Garfield Park typically get rid of the Nook or the Ying, and the HK Rebels are also always getting rid of the Nook and Ying. So these two teams are pretty accustomed to those bans by now. Solus also is kind of the default auto ban that the Rebels bring out, but Azami is a little bit different from what we typically see from West Garfield Park, but is a great ban on a map like Chalet, where Azami can be so incredible at just reconstructing and redesigning how you defend this map.
Yeah, trying to take library with an Azami in play, it is not a fate that I would wish on anybody. But luckily for the Rebels, they get to avoid that, as they have to attack Bar Gaming. As West Garfield, they get to set up with the Valkyrie, who was not banned. They set up with the usual frost that you would see on a site like this. And even though the 1.5 has been taken away from Oryx, Snakes still likes that ability to jump through these hatches that are pretty common throughout Chalet. You got the one in Kitchen, you got the one in Fireplace, and of course, there's that all-important one in Bar that you need to be able to hold on to as a defense, because as long as you can really hold that one hatch, you can shut down any push from the window, any push from the hallway into games itself. It is a very powerful position.
Yeah, what I'm kind of surprised to see, though, from West Garfield is not the or the Wamai or the Dock to play inside a dark spot in library. That's the very corner in between the sandwich window and the double window. That is something that you typically see a lot of teams use and abuse, because it is such a good mechanic to simply sit there and hold a powerful position like library, which so many teams love going for those direct attacks. Instead, looks like the Rebels are working their way across the map, so West Garfield Park will lack the Wamai and some of that clear or some of that clear denial that will be utilized, but you do have Snake over here on this initial extension, trying to be a little bit of a pain in the side of HK Rebels and really just shoot away some of the drones and information.
Rai goes down early due to the skills of Eddie, only taking a little bit of damage in the process. As the Rebels, they are coming from this Northern Solarium side. Snake is going to peek. He takes down Vipoa and gets away. It's not a good start for the Rebels. They don't get the refrag onto the Oryx, who, even though he's on 1 health, he can still be a menace around the map. There has to be some stabilizing for this HK Rebels attack. They have to get a refrag sometime soon, some good map control, otherwise you might call this first round a wash already.
Yeah, and that's something we kind of highlighted in the pre-show, right? Was the aggressive roam game and the hot guns that come from West Garfield Park, and Eddie and Snake both getting on the board early on is going to show for this match exactly how well they can play together. They struggled so much on the defensive end. I mean, they got rolled by Orbit in their game in round 2, but if they're able to look good, which they're already looking way better with a flawless round to close out the map, or at least the first round, then that is what you want to see, the adjustments being made and adaptations from their original game that they played on Chalet, looking a lot better than what they did just a couple weeks ago.
Statement kind of being made there in the first round, which is how forward West Garfield were being. They did not let Rebels breathe in the slightest. And now they go over to Kitchen. That's still an area where you have to hold up on the top floor, so you'll probably see Rebels try to attack from Solarium window if that's the actual push that they want to do. You could do a library over, you could do, I don't know, maybe a basement up. Anyways, any way you slice it, they're still going to encounter the rush. So they're still going to make sure they meet Snake face to face, probably Rice in this scenario. And so far in that first round, they could not deal with the roam at all. Still bringing the same set of operators, no Jackal, no Lion. It's mostly about the anti-roam gadget destruction with the IQ, the Ash, and that Sledge. So it's kind of a default set of operators, but as Rai does swap to that Lion, I think that could be better overall, making sure that you stop Snake at least for 5 seconds.
Yeah, if you're the Rebels, you really need to get in those positions to cut off West Garfield Park, who love to run around the map. That's one way Orbit was able to be so successful, and same with Wildcard, where they simply got on the cutoff angles, stopped West Garfield from being able to run around the map as freely as they typically do. And Chalet is a little bit smaller of a map where there are many cutoff angles. You have those windows, for example, in top blue, you also have the master double window, you have trophy window. There are so many different angles that you can cut off the West Garfield Park roamers from being able to run around as loosely as possible. The HK Rebels cannot be stuffed by that roam. If they're able to get those picks, I imagine that the traction that they can get into the bomb site will lead them to success. But it really comes down to, can they react to the roam from West Garfield Park, which in round 1, they were not able to do so.
By Poa and Eddie. Ships passing in the night. For now, nobody is taking a direct engagement. By Poa, he pushes forward. He might be a dead man, as Rice does shoot one bullet. The Tracer confirms that there is at least one player by the CEO area, and it's by Poa going down. Again, HK Rebels have to work with a 4v5 by their side. A good bit of destruction as well. The shields are going to stay in play. A lot of the frost mats as well. So with HK Rebels, it feels like it's the exact same round again. They do get one in the hands of GenCon. He's able to take out Valor. And if Doug can push into Piano successfully, the round can change on a dime just like that. But this has to be a successful push.
And where is the team play from the Rebels? Where is the pressure together overall to force these bodies out? I mean, finally they're stacking up, looking like they're ready to enter on into Piano with a good drone and information. That nade will go deep, but caught by one of the ADSs remaining inside. So the Jaeger does fall away. The Flores Rotero drone does get rid of the deployable shield. Now the Rebels are primed and ready to walk in, but they have to execute on Master before they can even get to the bomb site, and that's got to be difficult. They do get a pick, so getting the advantage, but Eddie brings it right back. And now still lacking that top floor control, and West Garfield Park can simply just choose to leave and play the time for the rest of the round if they want, but they're going to choose to go for the engagements. Eddie finds Rai and now is still looking for more, as West Garfield Park are going to hold for their lives.
Good shot there by Burn Turk, keeping that round alive, and now Doug gets his first of that entire map. It leaves Biologic alone near the site, not actually on it. So that vertical destruction shouldn't find him because it's just not in the right spot. There's 2 smoke canisters in his pocket that can be utilized. As Burnt Turkey makes sure he doesn't get caught in that frostbat. But now as the 2 walk down Solarium stairs, it's a headshot. Biologic reloads. He can peek it. He can waste time. He chooses to do the latter. He wins it out up against Burnt Turkey. And so far, West Garfield, they had the same opening. And right now with Biologic, they were able to hold strong in the end.
Yeah, the round got a lot tighter in the end, but the Rebels just didn't work together in the final bit of the round to refrag and trade each other out. And that's because they lacked time, they lacked the pressure, and they lacked the presence of information in the bomb site. And if you're not able to have any of that, well, it's pretty difficult to win situations on the attack, especially as the round gets so late. Bio also played that very well, so you have to credit him somewhat in that situation. Nonetheless, though, I loved the West Garfield defense, as instead of leaving, instead of giving up that time, letting the HK Rebels get comfortable and set up for an execute, they stayed up there. They made sure they were a pain in the neck. They made them second-guess themselves, and although they lost those fights, they were able to waste enough time and buy enough time for Bio to be able to get into a winning position and set himself up for success in the round.
Honestly, it's kind of good to see Biologic get something there, because I don't know if you were aware of the last quals over the weekend. West Garfield Park didn't have a fun time, didn't they?
No.
7-0,
Yes.
7-1. It's kind of one thing where it was just not good. So let's avoid talking about it, but there was a situation where everybody was kind of flaming Bio, because didn't do great in a 1v3, but then you have something like that where Bio's able to hold his ground, take out 2 good HK Rebels players, and have that composure to continue on, get potentially 3 rounds in a row, because the basement site is pretty good for defenders, and if that roam can stay strong, then I think we will see another round fall to West Garfield Park. But Rebels, get that opening pick, that's step one, and then you put one foot in front of the other.
Comes down to the Rebels. How do they want to work with the roam being set up by West Garfield Park? You have Eddie sitting inside a library and a pretty heavy footprint all around the map from West Garfield. You also have Bio sitting inside a kitchen. You have Snake upstairs and Master. There's so many of the bodies of West Garfield Park all over this map. The Rebels could simply decide to sprint through the site, and if they get into a deep spot inside a wine cellar, could potentially find success. Instead, they're going to elect to go for the roam clear, but this is taking quite a long time just to even rappel up to the snow balcony and work their way down. It's gonna be a rough one if they go for this full clear with how long they've already taken and have really no footprint in the map.
I mean, a third of the round is gone. They're able to get into that office area, so it is something. It's not completely desolate for this team, but you can tell they're looking for somebody in kitchen that's not there. Player was over by West Main. They're kind of signaling a trench push, and if I was this team, I would start droning out, make sure that your area is actually clear to push trench. But they also have to worry about the roamers. Snake is still on the first floor. Eddie, don't know exactly where he is. He still might be in that library, and he is. It's something that Rebels are choosing to ignore that I feel is going to be the most venomous snake that will bite them in the butt.
Yeah, Eddie is one of those bodies you really can't ignore on the opposing team just because of how hard he is shooting. Simply, he's just a good gunner and will bite you in the neck. He plays well, and he plays smart enough to be able to catch you off guard when you're least expecting it. The Rebels, though, do have a nice footprint and have established some good control, but are burning through those gas grenades, and now there's only one more smoke, and that gets dispatched by Valor as well. As West Garfield Park continue to hold on to this boiler position, Burnt Turkey able to open up things, taking out Bio, and that's really going to allow HK Rebels to make their entry on through.
Oh, Valor, if he could have held on to that position, maybe something could be salvaged, but instead, West Garfield just allow HK to walk into the side. Vipoa gets a team kill. It might not mean anything in the end, it's still a 1v4, and Rebels, they saved it for the very end, but the push works. Team kill aside, I think that would have been a flawless round. You might want to give it to them at that point, but otherwise it is still a very good push that, despite the fact they mostly ignored those two roamers, their attack onto that central site, taking out the anchors, was a huge part as to why they were allowed on the site so easily.
Yeah, and ignoring the roam ended up working out in their favor simply because they won the gunfights early on enough to where the roamers weren't able to come back and really be that pain in the neck that they could have been. It just took them a little bit too long, and that's more than likely because Eddie was playing Mira, who is a 3 armor and a little bit chunkier to run around the map. But Snake had the Oryx, so a little bit more mobility, but even then wasn't able to be as reactive because he probably had to wait for Eddie to come make that play with him. So nonetheless, the Rebels exploding into the bomb site, being able to get their way so that they had the control they needed to get the diffuser down. Easily enough said and done for them to pretty much ignore that heavy roam from West Garfield Park, and that might be something they want to take on more so as this match continues. And I expect maybe the Rebels to look towards the solar side of things for the rest of this map.
I know you're saying like maybe they should do that. I don't think they should do that. It's one thing where maybe it was just a fluke, because a lot of these sites, the roam is a little bit of an extension. Like, yes, Snake is going to be playing by bar, but if you're going to be over by library, that could be something. Doug takes out Eddie, who I think downed JetCon, because there was a spawn. So the revive should happen. Rebels start out with a free pick. You take down 50% of the C4s that the defense have. Could this round have started off better for this attack, honestly?
Yeah, this is a good start to take out Eddie, especially one of those prime hot shooting bodies for West Garfield Park. But as he goes down, so does Burnt Turkey, and you lose your ace. That's your hard breacher gone off the side of things for HK Rebels. It can make it much more difficult to open some of those deeper lines of sight to cut West Garfield Park from coming back to the site and doing what they need. Nonetheless, though, the HK Rebels have taken some of my advice and are looking to go for the solar side of things. They've got Rice to deal with on the solar stairs, and you also have Bio supporting from inside of kitchen. So there's a couple players that you do have to clear and don't have that time luxury as well as the bodies to be able to do so. Nonetheless, though, Vipella on a nice cutoff from the bathroom window takes out Valor, and now the Rebels can begin to work on this middle floor.
See, they're pushing a lot of these players back. I think they're potentially headed all the way back up to that second floor. And half of the round is still yet to be played. And I think all three West Garfield Park members are actually on the site. Bio's a little bit off of it, but the statement still stands. You do have a lot of your eggs in one basket, with almost 4 of your players over by this Solarium stair side, especially with that smoke. One whiff and JetCon is a dead man, but it's still the attack who maintain that momentum, look like they can win this round. All they really have to do is make sure that Snake has no fun by that bomb chassis.
Yeah, Snake is in one of those pivotal positions, but look at how many flashbangs the Rebels have to be able to just flash their way into the site and really cause hell for Snake, as that's what they're going to do exactly. They just dump him blind as a bat, and Snake will end up getting picked. It's actually Bio who gets picked by Doug, and Rice tries to swing bathroom, whiffs the shots, though, and it is stuck in between a rock and a hard place. But Snake somehow all of a sudden goes huge, gets a couple massive picks for West Garfield Park, and Rice finds Rai to put himself in a 1-versus-1. Doug, who's so often the star player for the HK Rebels, has an opportunity to step up here big for his team. Flash is going through, but has no information on where Rice is playing, who's tucked inside of the bathroom. Expects the swing, reads it beautifully from Rice's Doug. An incredible clutch and ability to bring his team back into that round after near disaster struck for the HK Rebels.
That was a great job by Snake in bringing that back. Fortunately, we got to see Rice, who was just trying to find one kill. His teammate got it, but staying alive, sometimes applying that pressure is what you need. But Doug, like you said, read that beautifully. Chef's kiss. HK Rebels get their second attack, and now, I mean, all they really have to do is bar and then potentially the basement again if West Garfield Park would want to try that. So a lot of these sites you have good track records on it. This is the only one that it just wasn't great. With a flawless round in that first round, looking like, hey, maybe West Garfield Park have something cooking on Chalet, but we're a little bit past that. We're on round 5. The attack has made some changes both in their positioning and their lineup. They're bringing out that Brava in the Flores, so a lot more utility destruction and just making sure that the defense has less of a fun time, especially with the default cameras probably being hacked by Jet.
And I think the plan for the Rebels, again, is to kind of go more direct. They're bringing the Brava and the Flores to simply eliminate all of that information and the util that is closer to the bomb site so that the HK Rebels can simply work together and explode on the site. That is where they're finding success so far through these first 4 attacking rounds, instead of dealing with the roam, which has honestly dismantled them for the most part from West Garfield Park. If they simply just ignore those bodies and take direct into library and into main lobby, which seems to be the take here from the Rebels, then they have adapted nicely to be able to adjust and worry and deal with these players. Rice now bringing out the Wamai. We did not see this in the first time they defended Bar, but we'll be playing that dark spot, which is so pivotal if you are going for that direct take for the HK Rebels.
And there's only 2 frag grenades in the pocket of HK Rebels. So if they want to root this player from this position, they're either going to have to use the Rotero, which Rai still has, or, you know, maybe use those 2 frag grenades to the best of your ability. Biologic is taken down by JetCon. Maybe just peeking an area that he shouldn't. Rice is going to get aggressive, try to get that refrag, but instead is blinded by his own Magnet, drops down the hatch, and makes the better decision just to try to play on site. I don't think West Garfield are aware of that player actually lurking up the blue stairs, so that could really come to hurt them if they're not aware. As right now, they're still hunting for a way to get back in this round.
Well, time trickling down, but still so much to work with here for the Rebels, especially after getting that opening pick. Also, just trying to work on where some of these roamers are still hanging out. Eddie gets picked by Vipella, and that is going to be massive for the Rebels, as they have simply taken control of top blue, but Rice has something to say about it. The newly added, once again, 1.5 back onto Wamai. Oh, so much in those gunfights with the MP5, and especially now as as West Garfield Park begin to hold their way tried and true. Rice is rotating inside a library, and slowly the West Garfield defenders begin to rotate around, trying to find exactly where the HK Rebels are coming from.
Valor is going to be burnt. Turkey has no clue, but Rai is there for the refrag and is now in sight. But a lot of these attackers are scattered. The player is going to try to join his friend inside of the site, but Rice with a nice little peek onto Doug takes him out, but no one is there to counter Rai. We're in another 1v1. Different players, different situation, and different site. Rice reveals his exact position with those shots. Rai should be able to win this, but a good little pre-check, but it doesn't help Rice in that scenario. So another 1v1 goes HK Rebels' way, and instead of tying it, this time it gives them the lead.
3 1vx's in this map so far. That is pretty incredible, but also shows how close these two teams are, truthfully, against each other. They just match up so well, and the HK Rebels adapting and working around the way that West Garfield Park are playing the map. They do a very nice job of simply going direct, finding their way in a bar, and although Rice makes some good work and finds some really nice picks, Rai is better in those 1v1 engagements, especially in the late round. I don't know what it is about him, but he is so good at just winning it out in the end, and that's something that I think is a good perk of Rai, who can be one of those clutch factor X factor players when the rounds boil down later on in.
Having a clutch gene, it's a good part of being a pro player if you can be relied on. My immediate thought goes to Geometric. When he was on TSM, when he was that last player alive, you're like, okay, there's still a chance we win this round. I don't know if it was at SI, where he got like multiple 1vx's, and then you look
that
at
sounds right,
this year's SI, and you just had Iconic and Shuttle doing all that. SI was amazing, seeing all those 1vx's. It's sad Astralis couldn't go farther, but I would love to see more 1vx's, because they are an exciting bunch. Rebels, I think they're looking for a little bit more of a confident round. Maybe have more than 2 players left alive by the end. Put West Garfield Park in their place and go up 4-2. That would be a statement after the starting 2 rounds were a little bit iffy on their side.
Could definitely be a statement for themselves, but they're looking to go for this longer clear, and history as it goes for the HK Rebels on these longer clears, not so good. Typically, they struggle against Snake and Eddie, who just kind of make their life hell. And if they do so, then the HK Rebels will lose the round, and if they're able to finally contain some of the aggression and elicit some good information in drones, which they're doing so gratefully for Vipoa, who walks on through. But this is where they stalled last time. They got that control through Piano, but then they had to wait, and they took a long time eventually getting that top control, finally winning their engagements, but lost the 1v2 in the very end to Bio, who positioned himself nicely off the remaining time.
Snake is going to get droned out, but now doesn't move, does not waver, and nobody from Rebels is really going to capitalize on that information. So they're still trying to reconvene as Eddie is going to transition over towards Ivy. Slink over towards that left side. He was not caught out, and if a player peeks their head, it is Doug. He is done for. And now a lot of the anti-roam, there are no Transtingers that were deployed that can be deployed in this round. So now the vertical pinch has to come with JetCon. Can he get the kill onto the Jaeger in blue stairs? Jaeger does peek, but he was not ready for Burnt Turkey up on that first floor. Knocking outside of the site with a minute left. Rebels are setting themselves up for success, but they still have to worry about that top floor roam.
Yeah, that is a nice pick and trade to come through. But one thing I didn't love about how the Rebels took this round previously and are doing so again, this time they're going just kind of for that direct take where they cut off some of those roamers and don't really try to go so deep up top. But they lack drones and information for those bodies who take the ground. Then you let people like Bio, or like Eddie rather, walk out into the Ivy hallway, get that free pick on a Doug. You lose one of your crucial players for this execute, which you really need as many players alive as possible for this diving execute if you are on the attack, especially when the defense has that vertical control. You have to pressure it somehow, some way. And also these gas grenades that are continuing to shut HK Rebels out of the bomb site.
Good thing for Garfield now, as they took out Vipoa. The gas grenades are going to be enough to push Burnt Turkey out of the site, as Valor does have a C4. Is it going to be deployed? The red pings are going out, but nobody is there. Diffuser is down, and the ITAS doesn't have the range to confirm on the kill, but it is still West Garfield Park. They get one, they get two, and it leaves it all in the hands of JetCon. Back in the dining hallway, is going to use that Selma breach as a way to just bounce back and forth. He has the Talon shield as well, so the two players of West Garfield, they have a decision to make. JetCon is going to go for the peak, and you don't even need Valor on the flank in the basement. Rice is just going to win that engagement, and even though JetCon, he had 2 layers of reinforcement between him and the diffuser, he still chose to go for that engagement.
I don't even know how West Garfield or how HK Rebels were allowed to get into that spot to plant. Like, you would have thought that West Garfield had the verticality to stop that from occurring. They got a little self-occupied with some of those attackers that came upstairs, and if the HK Rebels had that extra body and dug, man, that attack would have probably worked out, because they would have had just enough pressure on the top floor to be able to not only get the plant down, but have better post-plant positioning in the end. Instead, with West Garfield Park still having that vertical control, being able to leverage that against the HK Rebels once the plant went down, it was pretty much wraps for the Rebels. And JetCon trying to win that 1vx, there's not much he can do. He could hear this mute stomping around downstairs coming from behind, so he knew he needed to take one of those 1v1 engagements. Had he beat the Frost, he more than likely would have won that round. But unfortunately, came down to losing a 1, and that's the difference really that came through for the HK Rebels in that round.
So far, I mean, that was in some essence a 1v1. You know, you still had that 2-player left alive, but I think 4 of these rounds out of the 6 we've seen so far have come down to one player just being maybe the difference between a win and a loss, whether they clutch it out, whether they just hold their position and make sure that the round isn't lost. Kind of a crazy thing to say, that a lot of times you have better positioning. Is your round to win? It's a round to lose, depending on the situation with things. As West Garfield start on the attack, bring out some similarities that HK Rebels did, most likely the Brava, the IQ, which interesting enough I believe is just designed to counter that Valkyrie, which does make sense. But the Kebi wasn't really utilized by HK Rebel.
And typically you see Bio on the Dokkaebi, but West Garfield Park instead switching the roles around a little bit and wanting to utilize the Brava, who is so good on Chalet. She has really made her name known on this map because of all of the defensive utility you can snag away. The default cameras are amazing. You basically are playing Zero, but have extra drones at that point. And also, now you can hack the Evil Eyes, the Jaeger ADSs, the Valkyrie Black Eye cameras. There is so much that Biologic can take from the defense, and that is exactly what he's trying to do.
Snake goes down to Burnt Turkey, so the Rebels roam is holding strong with some players inside of bathroom as well. So there's no more frag grenade. So if you're trying to take on a Maestro cam from afar, maybe root out any of these players, it is going to be a difficult position. With Black Eye is just beautiful, and West Garfield have no idea about it. Down goes another player, and the wall is open, but a push now would be deadly. You have to get that top floor. You have to make sure the site is somewhat clear, none of which West Garfield have really done so far. And Rebels, all they need to do, hold down the line for a minute, 15 seconds.
And that kill on Valor came off the information game that has been so good for the Rebels, at least early on in this defense. Those Black Eye cameras that Doug in place are amazing for stopping West Garfield from getting away with some of those ratty plays. Rai will get tagged through the feetsy holes placed inside of Trophy, but still remains alive. Nonetheless, it's going to be real difficult for West Garfield Park to really make any headway in this room with the lack of bodies and map footprint that they have. You have Eddie and Rice on the top floor working their way in, but just as I say so, Eddie dies. Rice going to try to take these engagements, but there's too many Rebels players that he's going to have to deal with, and I just don't think that he's in a winning position to take on these fights. And there it goes. Burnt Turkey gets the pick. Bio's going to walk in sight, but lacks the diffuser and time to be able to win this round. He's got a hay of bullets being spread his way. Eventually, JetCon finds the pick. The HK Rebels take their first defensive round.
Like Operation Save the Flawless round right there. Make sure the Frost doesn't die. We gotta get that nice little yellow line at the end of the round, but it's still an emphatic win for Rebels. Flawless or not, they made sure that any entrance by West Garfield Park was gonna be fought for, and West Garfield lost the bat. They were really making no headway inside of the building. It's kind of reminiscent of how the first round for Rebels anti-Rome went. Just the sides are swapped this time. Maybe we're going to see a lot of echoes between the first half and the second half. If that were to happen, we would see Rebels win this round again, but once they get that confidence, I don't think West Garfield is really going to find a foothold in, because you allow this team to get confident. You allow a lot of these players to find their momentum, and once you get that, it's really hard to take that away.
Well, see how much the West Garfield Park can take away and how much the Rebels can take away from the West Garfield Park attack. The information game is something that the Rebels are relying on heavily in this match. It's not something you typically see from them. You don't usually see them rely off of as much information. Sometimes they like to go raw with their guns and simply play their spots on the defense, forcing their opponents into them. Nonetheless, though, they're playing well, at least so far into this match. And West Garfield, I haven't really seen any major adaptations come from them yet to deal with the way that the Rebels have played, especially on their defensive half. Didn't feel like we saw much adaptations from West Garfield Park. HK Rebels seem like the team that'll move a little bit more and flex their ways around the opposing team as the match continues.
Interesting. No hold by Library. I think the only thing is really that barbed wire. So they're putting a lot of emphasis on Piano, holding back with that deployable shield. I think you would usually see that design to hold Library. So something different from the HK Rebels defense by Solaria. They have a very structured setup that I think West Garfield could definitely read into with this, especially with how much map control Rebels are allowing them. But sometimes that can be a trap. You fall right into the jaws that snap shut. Garfield need to make sure that they get that opening pick onto one of these players. Maybe ones that are just a little bit farther off the site, but none are going to get caught out. Eddie's just a little bit too slow. Yeah, the Jaeger. He's not the 3-speed he was, but sometimes it's just a little bit too quick to fire.
That is one that Eddie has to connect on. I mean, he didn't even shoot. It was like he simply let Vipoa walk back to the side. It was like just a nice gesture to let his opponent go back to safety, and that is something you just can't let happen, because that's an extra body you're going to have to deal with in the execute. And if you have that man advantage, you have that cutoff. Vipoa wasn't looking for the fight. He simply was sprinting. He was not going to win an engagement if you took it, and unfortunately, Eddie just caught lacking.
Wow, minute left. Nothing done really on the attack or the defense, and it's the Rebels who strike first. Eddie is down, and the Piano holds strong. There is a way inside of the site, and West Garfield now are fully going to flex. They're going to put that diffuser down with not a lot of Rebels around them. The Frost is going to go through the rotate. Gets caught by Snake, but not finished off. Duck actually gets the pistol kill onto Valor. I'm wondering where that came from. That does even the odds. Because right now, Rebels, they've got the time to work with. They can slowly chip away at this lead that the attack has. Snake has to work with the Jaeger in front of them, and I believe Doug, who's moving up those library stairs, he takes a little bit of damage, but he's not ready for Vipoa, who goes for the swing, gets the kill, but the two players left alive can still exert that pressure that they need to. It is a little bit of a trade there, but Biologic left alive, 4 seconds left. Defense needs to get on the diffuser, get the kill, and Jetcon is going to stick. Doug has to get the kill, he does! And Rebels once again with the clutch. With about a second left, Mason, they get around and now put a little bit of a distance between them and West Garfield Park.
It was absolutely incredible coverage by the Rebels and an awesome retake. Truthfully, they just went for those bloody gunfights. They worked well together. I love the team play between Doug and Vipoa to take out Snake, who's sitting inside a mezzanine waiting, and he's just not able to flick between those two angles fast enough to win those engagements. And sometimes he gets away with them, sometimes not so much. It's pretty difficult to be able to do so. Then they work their way and run out on the office balcony player. Then they finally get to the spot. They're like, okay, we can begin to go for the defuse, even if there's only 1 second left. This is the gunfight you have to win. JetCon doing an incredible job to cover for his team. I said his name earlier on the broadcast, saying he is going to be one of the pivotal players that needs to step up if the Rebels want to have success, because I felt that he was going to get a lot of engagement time today based off of how West Garfield Park are playing. He is doing just that.
Think about it. Honestly, if you want somebody in that situation, it's probably Doug. He just won that like it was the easiest thing in the world. I don't know if Biologic didn't have the information or what, but Doug was able to win that out. And now you go over to the basement side, where it seems they've got a similar type of setup. I mean, you have the Maestro cameras, a lot of wall denial with that Mute and that Bandit. It still feels like they're designed to hold down the site, less, you know, around the actual site itself. Maybe Burnt Turkey will be around the flanking Bandit or something of the like. But the setup inside of that site should be pretty tough for this attack to deal with. They do have the Thatcher.
The Thatcher could be extremely pivotal, but it's difficult to deal with the Bandit trick when the Thatcher is in play. Typically, you see a lot of teams elect to go Cade. It's rare. It's a lot more rare to see a Bandit trick, but sometimes when it's brought out, it is perfect indeed. But the main wall does get open, and they begin to dispatch some of the defensive utility plays through, such as the bubbles, the mute jammers, bandit wires, alibi clones, deployable shields, whatever else may be set up by the HK Rebels. But nonetheless, a minute has gone by, and the Rebels still have control of this kitchen dining position, which is very pivotal if West Garfield Park want to go for this backside execute that they're setting up for.
So far in both of the rounds the Rebels have won, they've got the opening pick. First off, West Garfield haven't made a lot of headway early on. Like, yeah, they've gotten walls open, but a lot of times that's just step 1 of 7 or something like that. And the fact that Burnt Turkey is still here, I think that camera insight has been dealt with, so there isn't a direct way inside of the site, but it's Burnt Turkey again getting that opening pick, making sure that if the Thatcher was needed, it's gonna have to be dealt with in some other fashion. It's a second one for this defense, and this is a pretty pivotal round. This would put Rebels on map point, but a player pushes inside a blue. This could be the change that is needed. Rice finds his second. He reloads. He's got that diffuser. He was going all or nothing there, Mason. And Rebels, are they scrambling, or they still got a lot of time by their side? It's a choose your own adventure in this situation.
Yeah, Rice stepping up and taking the Fragmite to heart. Has positioned himself deeply inside a blue, but he needs help. West Garfield have to rotate, find a way to position themselves to help out Rice. Instead, they're going to look to still hunt these bodies on the top floor, which seemingly have disappeared entirely. Rai will get the pick on a snake, and Rice is not going to be able to enable himself out of blue as he has been trapped in between a rock and a hard place. The Rebels have locked him inside of this position, and although the team flashes come through for Valor to try to help Rice out, he's just on too low of HP to really take these engagements. Valor is going to try to drop and make something work, but it doesn't happen. Rice can't check all the angles, and the Rebels close things out, putting themselves onto match point.
I know nobody just helped Fragmite. They literally just rush on into the site with the diffuser. It was a one-man army in that situation, but with Rebels, they get that round. Were we right with questioning West Garfield Park going to Chalet? It feels like we were, because, I mean, they had those first 2 rounds, but it was also Rebels. Maybe just getting accustomed. Like, you got to give some teams, like, 1 to 3 rounds to get their groove, especially in a best of 3. As well, because you could be here for a long time. And ever since those first 2 rounds, the only time we have seen West Garfield Park win was round 6. It really has been one-sided ever since Biologic won that 1v2.
Yeah, been a little bit. Been a little bit. And that, and also, the HK Rebels have just dominated the opening pick game. 6 out of the 9 rounds that have played so far, they've found it. And when you're winning the opening pick, you're winning round. And that's been the story so far in this match. It's whoever gets the opener wins the round, no matter what in the end. So, in theory, whoever gets the opening pick wins this round, unless West Garfield Park or HK Rebels want to change that narrative. But nonetheless, we also haven't seen those 1vx positions really come through in the very end of the round. Some of the rounds still get close, but you don't have those very end round 1vx tense situations coming through. The HK Rebels are closing these rounds out a little bit more favorably than what West Garfield Park were doing when they were on the defense.
We're going for the Solarium side take. It's just Windows Simulator in certain areas, especially if you want to root out any players maybe hiding in Solarium, hiding in the closet like Rai is. So far, the West Garfield Park attack has been very slow, either to positive or negative. I think mostly negative, because they've always been that opening death. They've cleared some utility out, but I think that's really only one part of the puzzle. Vipoa is gonna actually push up. Let's go for the jump out. He's backing up. Maybe the drone spotted him as Snake does get that player inside of closet, but there's a lot of opportunities here for West Garfield Park, but what are they actually going to do about the information on the table?
And my question is, why are the entry players having to drone themselves in? Like, eventually Snake's gonna swing on through, and there's nice coverage from Eddie to be able to get the opener onto Rai. So in theory, if story goes to suit, then West Garfield Park will win this round as they're able to now take down Vipoa. This is a nice clear, actually, of the top floor. They get that full control and completely pinch out the HK Rebels. This is the adaptation and change needed by West Garfield Park to change how they're attacking, how they're dealing with some of these roamers that are being established by the HK Rebels. And they're looking good so far, finally getting this control, but Burnt Turkey might have something to say about it.
Still alive. JetCon still has that LMG. Question of how many cameras are alive, but Rice just caught inside of the site, and now you start to worry a little bit, and maybe that worry was all for naught. JetCon gets taken out. Burnt Turkey is just going to try to be on the ground, go for a surprise, but it's easy as ever as Snake, he sees, hey, that's my name. You can't do a Snake cosplay. Takes out Burnt Turkey, and now West Garfield, it's still following the pattern. Opening pick equals round win.
Just because his name is Snake doesn't mean he's on the floor all the time.
That's what, but that was Burnt Turkey. He was being a snake.
Yeah, but no.
Let me this funny joke, Mason. Please laugh.
No funniness.
No funny.
No fun. No funny.
Sorry.
We don't.
Sorry, my bad.
Nope. No funny V. Nope. Nada. But anyway, yes. Yeah, I would say that was a nice round by West Garfield Park. Simply winning their fights, better information, and better team play and coordination to hit the HK Rebels from all sides at the same time. That's the cohesion you need when you're playing against the Rebels, who have these really rock-solid defenses that you have to somehow find a way to disrupt. If West Garfield Park continues to do that and continues to keep up this adaptation, they'll find more success and contract themselves back into overtime where they have a chance to take their map pick.
I mean, sometimes we see, I think what Scott has dubbed the collegiate special, where you have you're the man for the collegiate special, where teams will win each other's map pick, and it has happened a couple times. In Villa, that would be a surprise if HK Rebels win this out, and West Garfield somehow win out Villa after everything we've seen, but it could happen. It's, you know, we have seen crazier things in SFCL, but this map is also not over. There's only 2 rounds in between West Garfield Park and HK Rebels that can very easily be diminished, and you gotta keep your eye on who's getting that opening pick, because I think in almost all of the rounds, maybe save 1 or 2, that it has still followed that pattern that you mentioned.
Well, it has followed the pattern as suit. So there's the tension. So whoever gets the opener wins the round. So we may see the end of the map as Rai gets the opener, taking down Valor. He's the other body that I really wanted to see step up from West Garfield Park, was Valor, who has had a rather rough map. He's really the only player in West Garfield Park that isn't performing very much at all on this map.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll have that, especially with players that maybe aren't in that frag-oriented role. But I think if you look at the score, you look at maybe who to blame. I don't know if you look at individuals. Sometimes it comes down to teams, as Vipoa gets another kill added to his arsenal, as overall HK Rebels they are having themselves a hell of a game. Doug is 6, he's the lowest. Burnt Turkey, he's got the most with 11. They are really spreading the love when it comes to kills, but with West Garfield, I mean, they have to work with a frag grenade, some Roteros and flashbangs in their pocket, and as long as HK Rebels don't peek, no opportunity is going to be presented to this attack.
And they've reinforced off walls. They've closed every sort of avenue of access here for West Garfield Park, and they're going to have to try to just bloody fight their way in. It is going to be scrappy. Rice has an opportunity to win some pivotal gunfights. A very nice shot on the Vipoa, but immediately the team play and refrag trade comes through from the Rebels, who have a 4 versus 2 advantage. It's going to be tough. I mean, the blue default cam wasn't even shot by West Garfield Park, simply missing and skipping the steps that they needed to be successful. Another team swing comes through. Doug will Pokeball and collect a snake to be one of his former competitors, and now the HK Rebels clean house, closing Chalet. Their opponent's map pick goes down, and we'll head to the HK Rebels home of Villa in map number 2.
Yeah, see, so you can make a snake-related joke. It works, but I think the snake
case in the blast quals and got absolutely smoked on it. They actually did beat. Let's see. I'm looking. Nope, they played it once in the later blast qualifiers, like the last LCQ that just happened this last weekend. But nonetheless, that was it. And they got rolled by Beast Coast, where they could not find any footprint on attack. The HK Rebels, on the other hand, sometimes their attacks are really nice on this map. And they do tend to play out kind of the same thing over and over again. You're going to see Osa played. You're going to see cutoffs established. You're going to see the long roam clear come through. But that's also how the HK Rebels have struggled against WGP, is the roams that they have set up and pushed into. So if the HK Rebels play their typical Villa, they actually may find some resistance against this West Garfield defense.
We'll have to see with the attack coming on through. I mean, some teams have preferred to actually start on a site like Kitchen, start on a site like Trophy, which, I mean, I think AVG used to be like the heralded site, as you would always want to go there. But as Villa has started to get played more and more often, I think if Oregon and Clubhouse got sucked out of the map pool, Villa would get played so much more. It might become like that objective decider map that everybody knows how to play, and you can say that for that AVG site, but with Trophy Sanctuary and that Kitchen site, you can play things just a little bit differently. But West Garfield, they're sticking to their guns, going to AVG and bringing out a typical lineup that we saw on Chalet. They've still got Snake on that, Oryx, a Rooney as well. There is a lot of area and utility denial designed to waste some time, waste some frag grenades that will most surely be in the pocket of Vipoa and that Nook that got selected, which did not get banned as well, Mason.
No Nook ban, no Nook ban. Ying's still gone though, so sadness. No flashy executes. That's pretty typical of both these teams. West Garfield Park got a little bit of Ying play yesterday against Lycus, but other than that, they don't really use the Ying very much. They actually ban it for the most part for themselves, but nonetheless, Solus also off the board, Azami as well. Pretty standard bans, from kind of similar to what we had last map, but we will see a lot of lurk play, and to see Rai on the Nook is quite a surprise, because he is not your typical lurker.
We've had some surprises as well, with Rice being that first gunner. Maybe Rai is gonna step up, get some big kills. I think I just bug with the Supernova, which I think on Amaru it works, Echo it works, because you can kind of play those characters in very cramped positions, close the space, but I think running it on Habana is a little bit of a bolder play. But
him cook.
Yeah, no, maybe the Bearing 9. Maybe he can pull down really well with the Bearing 9.
I have a feeling this is not an attack I've typically seen from the HK Rebels, because you have Rai on the Nook, because you have Doug on Habana, you have JetCon on Osa, who typically isn't playing that. Usually you have Rai, who plays a lot of the Osa and a lot of the cutoffs. I'm expecting them to go for the direct take, which is exactly what they have set in store. Gonna work on the study side, work below with grenades, and also have a lurk from the master side of some sort to try to distract and deal with some of the bodies. And Doug with the shotgun from below could actually make some serious noise and damage through the floor. That could literally be the entire point of him being on Habana with the shotgun, is pick a shotgun. It could be Buck. It could be Habana. Go below and have some fun.
Rice sees that talent shield, tries a little bit of a pre-fire, but as long as that shield is up, and especially with the wall being broken, it's just gonna make this defense in AVG really hell, which is why Rice does back off, actually goes for the re-peek on the door, but Rebels have just decided to go for something else. Maybe that main stairs peek, maybe to go towards Master, and they just get shredded inside of Piano. It's 3 for West Garfield Park as Burnt Turkey and Rai, they are the only ones left alive. And, well, not a good first round. It seems like they were setting up for something, but it just fell apart at the peak.
It started off so nicely. They had all the nice control that they wanted. They were working their way into the map. And then West Garfield Park decided to run at them, and the HK Rebels just had no bodies to really fight back. Rai falls, and now Burnt Turkey is going to be stuck in a 1 versus 5. Will deny the flawless round as Eddie carelessly hops out the lower red stairs window, but nonetheless, without drones, without any sort of gadgets left to be able to put yourself in a winning position, it's going to be pretty rough here for Burnt Turkey, but does collect a second pick, so hey, at least getting some of those exit frags and boosting that wonderful KD that Burnt Turkey has actually maintained fairly decent this season. Oh, it's a frostbite. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I saw it, and I knew his fate.
Oh, no. It's the worst way to go down. Especially when you have, like, no exact pressure on you. Like, you're just kind of going around your merry way, and then just... That sound. It is a scary sound, but there wasn't much cooking there. He got his 2 kills, boosted his KD. It was still a West Garfield Park round from beginning to end as they head over to the trophy stash where I bring a similar lineup, and you would expect probably the roamers to play in a similar manner over by that AVG side, maybe even in that bathroom or walk-in closet, because there have been some teams who have tried to be very anchored inside of that closet. I think it was Poison on AA. Really tried to hide in that closet. It was pretty effective up against 6 Karma, but with the setup that this defense has, it really is just trying to make sure that they can destroy a lot of the sightlines that the attack could have, especially with the castle barricades, with those deployable shields, reinforcements, and they're going to have to dedicate essentially the 2 hard breach that they have, the frag grenades, the Zofia impacts, all just to make sure they can actually shoot the defender.
It is Mr. Callum, Mr. P, that enjoys the closet here on Villa. Plays it pretty well too, honestly, and so does the AA team. But that's another story. That's a story for for Thursday when they come back and play in their quarterfinal match. Nonetheless, though, the Rebels struggled a lot in that first round. They were set up like they were ready to go, but then all of a sudden they were stuffed and stopped short. I like the idea to send Burnt Turkey simply as a distraction. Try to make it seem like they're going for this heavy west side overtake, or south side overtake from Ruins and Study all the way across. And he's going to distract some of those bodies, especially by opening that wall, but now rotates over with the rest of the HK Rebel attack, which is focused directly into Master.
Some pre-fires. The Gemini clone did get destroyed from Rice, who's playing in bathroom. He gets droned at. He has to back off. And Valor, who is playing by the statuary entrance, has that deployable shield just to try to create a very small angle, and now uses the castle barricade to push up. That is the entire point of that castle barricade, is just to give the defenders a little bit of an ebb and flow. Put the pressure on these attacks. The frag grenade doesn't get anything but that castle barricade, so Valor cannot actually push forward. But Burnt Turkey doesn't see Rice holding very close to the window, so they lose one of their hard breach. That is that opening pick that was fabled. That really set up the round for a lot of these teams in the previous map, but now they're still going to have to find some way into Master, some way into bathroom with one less player by their side.
One less player and a lot less utility. You only have 1 flashbang left in the pocket of Rai, but maybe if you just rip off your opponent's heads like Vipoa just did, then you might have an opportunity in this round. Nonetheless, though, West Garfield Park are still looking to just be so bloody brutal in this round. Eddie's just going to take the revolver, finds 2 with the carrot toss, and now JetCon has to clutch a 1 versus 4, stuck inside of the closet, locked in by the aggressive plays from West Garfield Park, and there's not much he's going to be able to do. Rice takes the swing, finds the headshot, and a nice defensive round full of aggression from WGP.
That was me. That pistol kill, I was like, he's probably going to get it, and it is going to be a clip. And yeah, no, it was just kind of West Garfield feeling the room, pushing up inside a master. I think Burnt Turkey not finding Rice. That was not a good way to start the round. Here's Eddie's nice little two-piece with the Karas Toast. It's a pretty dangerous gun, but still honestly a better map start for West Garfield. They still have 2 rounds, but they're very different. I mean, it's 4 players left alive, 3 players left alive, and there isn't much room for Rebels to really breathe at all, whether they've gone for an offsite clear, whether they've tried to really attack it from Master to the site itself like we just saw. It's always been Scarfield Park, but this is going to be that final test. Is the door slightly open that Rebels can stick a foot in, get around, get themselves on the board, or has the door been slammed shut, bolted, and Rebels are gonna really have to fight to get back in this map?
So I say this every single time HK Rebels attacks Kitchen Dining, because it's the same plan and same execute type every single time. I hope West Garfield Park has watched the HK Rebels attack the site, because they love to use the OSA to force their way into laundry with a little bit of top pressure and get the bomb down. That is how the HK Rebels like to play this site. I do think they did their research, because you have Rice with impacts, which typically out of Valkyrie you don't see. You also have Snake and Bio bringing out a plethora of those impact grenades to stop those Talon shields from being placed in those preferable positions so that Rai will be enabled to get the plant. But still, you have to stop that vertical coverage and control that the Rebels also take. So there's a couple steps that really come into shutting down the Rebels on this attack. They love to do every single time they get away with it.
Yeah, but they're not centering themselves around laundry. They're going for that top down, trying to see if they can catch a West Garfield Park player. Vipoa takes a little bit of chip damage. I believe that was Eddie. Yep, it was. He currently is having himself a game comboing with Rice. They've got 8 kills, 80% of the entire kills so far that West Garfield have in those first 2 rounds. So if you can take those golden goose off the board, maybe you'll get something, but Eddie just adds more kills to his arsenal, takes down that buck, and so now a lot of your vertical presence is in the hands of Vipoa. The 3 breaching charges that JetCon has, and there's still so many blue bodies all the way around. It's 2 for HK. They get a 3rd onto Eddie, who is shot down, and now Rice, who has not been killed, and his buddy Valor are really going to have to anchor down for about 90 seconds to continue their unbeaten streak.
You're really going to have to use the leverage of those gas grenades to control where the HK Rebels enter on through. And you already know it's going to be through laundry. That's just how they take it. Look at Rai. He's already rotated his little butt over there with the diffuser. It's the same thing for the HK Rebels. He's just got it. He just holds it in front of his face to really grind my gears. Nonetheless, though, vertical control established. Valor is going to lose a little bit of damage, but Rice with the impact from below dispatches of Vipoa and some of that vertical coverage in play. Nonetheless, though, that's your last impact gone, meaning you have nothing to deal with those Talon shields, which Rai will place down. Nonetheless, though, Valor with the shotgun finds JetCon and Rai completely stuffing the push, and now Doug has to walk in on the 1 versus 2. Seemingly, the information is there for West Garfield Park as they are primed and ready for Doug to walk through, but a nice nade will do a lot of damage to Rice, leaving the opponents at only a little bit of HP. Valor just under 50. Rice at a bullet or 2 until he falls to the ground. Doug in more than a winnable position, but also on that lower HP, has to avoid the pellets of the shotgun. Will be able to do so. Hits the headshot onto Valor, but now has to hunt down Rice, who tucks himself nicely into the corner. The information is there, but Doug, you have to go. The shield also stopping him from being able to push through. The deployable camera does so good to give Rice the information needed, and he'll win the round in the 1 versus 1. West Garfield Park with a flawless defensive rotation.
How do you just, with the OSA push, my only thought was that the smoke was able to kill the ace, and then OSA was like, oh, I gotta shoot that smoke, put the shield away, but was not ready for the actual peak that happened. Either way, a shotgun just dismantling everything like that does not bode well for the Rebels' attack. We're really seeing how they do not look good on attack, on Villa, it's starting to show. And as now with West Garfield Park, they've completed the cycle. They get to go back to the site that they previously preferred, like that Aviator game site where they looked oh so good. What changes are the HK Rebels going to make? They bring out the Dekebi, the IQ, probably designed to counter the Valkyrie, but how does that counter the Room? How does that stop them from being shut down really wherever they stand?
I also like the Twitch being brought. I'm not sure if it's the right way I would go about trying to get some of that extra flank information, but it works. It's something that JetCon could use to leverage and try to deal with some of the extension that West Garfield Park love to run. I mean, they simply wait for the Rebels to kind of make their own play, and then they push them. And with Eddie and Rice starting to heat up and shoot, the X-Luminosity duo kind of really shining out, then yeah, you're going to find success if you're West Garfield Park. And these are the two guys, and along with Snake, who if they're heating up, if they're hot and primed and ready, you're going to find a lot of round wins. And the HK Rebels are finding that out rather quickly against West Garfield Park, at least so far in this match.
Running it out, seeing if they can spot any player. I believe they have seen Eddie. As Snake takes a little bit of damage, is actually on that first one, probably dropped down that hatch in Astro. But Eddie, who has been an entry demon so far for this team, does back off. He doesn't stay anymore in that trophy statue. Realizes his life is pretty valuable, and now takes position on the red stairs, an even better area that the Rebels will have to root up. They've got 3 frag grenades, so this can be very easily dealt with if they can actually flush out those magnets that they may or may not know that they're there. So far, everything for West Garfield Park is routine, it's default, and it's working perfectly to a T.
Not sure if I love how early West Garfield gave up some of that ground, though. They do have the deployable shield and some of the ground to play up at the top red stairs, but Vipoa dispatches of Eddie, so now you lose that red stairs positioning, and that's what I was afraid of, was that the HK Rebels were going to have more bodies than West Garfield could deal with to be able to hold the ground that they wanted strongly. Bio still does retake the red stairs, but Valor now falls. That is the smoke. There is no more gas denial in the round. Bio is being completely flashed out of red. He's going to be cut off from one of these members of the HK Rebels who are working so well to flood their way on through. Have yet to deal with him, though, and Snake has something to say to go help his teammate. He's made his way all the way up through Statue, maybe even hopping up the Master Hatch. That is huge, as West Garfield Park has retaken this half of the map.
Oh no, I don't have a good feeling. Okay, the kill onto Snake does settle my nerves just a little bit, but Rice has not died. He has not died so far in this game. And 4 players, I mean, it is a significant number, but very easily dealt with if played correctly by this defense. Timer ticks down. The Rebels realize that they have information. They have 5 drones that they can utilize, along with 2 frag grenades still in JetCon's pocket. There's a lot of ways to get inside of that site, but Rice, he strikes first, takes out JetCon, and deals a lot of damage over to Burn Turkey. Could the pinch happen? Burn Turkey is there, makes it so the only player, Biologic, is hiding behind that bar area. Has to complete a 1v3 post-plant by stun lock in between 3 players with no real way out of the sticky situation that he is in. He's pre-firing every angle that he can, but it's Doug who gets that finishing blow, makes it so that HK Rebels get their first round on the board. Is it too late? We'll have to see in the next 2 rounds.
Oh, a lot of bit to break down in that round. I don't know why Rai didn't use that phone call when they were pushing into the bomb site. Yes, they won the round in like a 3v1 and stuff, but if they had done that, that would have knocked the defenders off those Valkyrie cameras to give themselves information, so that way the study player could have just walked in for free with less contention, less swings coming through with good, accurate information from West Garfield Park. Then you also could have walked in, been blind potentially to where you went for the play. You maybe could have gone somewhere different or atypical of the default plant behind the vault wall, maybe behind the maps table or something else that could throw the West Garfield Park defense off. Nonetheless, though, they did a very nice job of clearing the map across, getting that opening pick, which still stays true in this series, that if you get the opener, you win the round no matter what. That has stayed true through map 1 and all the way through these first 4 rounds of map number 2.
Oh, it's very easy to analyze as well. It's like, oh, you got the entry. Stats are on your side. They'll say you win out the round.
It really makes me feel like a genius. Like, I really feel like I can just predict the future.
Yeah.
Because, hey, this person dies. Okay, the HK Rebels win the map or whatever, right? On Chalet, they get the opener. Oh, cool, they win the map. It seems kind of like that. So maybe West Garfield Park, they're looking good. They get the opener. They win the map. Who knows?
It's something you can point to. Be like, okay, this is the reason why. I'm very smart. Please listen to me, type thing. As the Rebels, they look to get that opening pick. That's kind of the hunt, is who can get that opening pick. We also do need to talk about the capital on the board. There's no hard breach for this. I just realized it's living room library.
Yeah, I was gonna say, before we talk about the capital, let's talk about the bomb site.
I was assuming like it was trophy statuary. Okay, this is a wrench in the plan, Mason.
Yeah, this is different. You don't see Living Library typically, but look at the setup by West Garfield Park. You had Bio, who brought the impacts upstairs, used them in Vault to deny any sort of living room push, but Doug getting that opener, that signals good thoughts and good spirits for HK Rebels through the rest of the round, but a nice refrag and hop out an aggression coming from West Garfield Park, who may be looking to change that narrative. JetCon falls, and so do some of the rest of these bodies. A nice smoke to come through could help HK Rebels get on into the site, but they're trying to figure their way around this defense, and the positions are just extremely strong here from West Garfield Park.
Valor stays alive, and that's really big because now you're just going to see a little bit of a chicken fight. The impact goes out. It was not hit from himself. That was from that gun of Vipoa. But now as Eddie gets his third of the round, it leaves Burnt Turkey, who was really the hero for Rebels in a lot of the rounds in that 1v2, but shut down before he can even begin on his heroic crusade. So West Garfield Park, I mean, will they single-handedly bring Living Room Library into the Villa meta? I don't think so, but they still get a round win, add one more to the notch, and still keep a 5-1 chance alive.
We have a moment of silence for the first round that the team did not get the opening pick, did not win the round. Or what did I just say? The team that got the opening pick did not win the round. Okay, thanks for that moment. But, moving on. I don't know. It's just weird. It's one of those quirky things that sometimes some games it has such a massive impact where the opening pick literally leads to round wins, and sometimes it's like completely doesn't matter because the team has such a good mid round. Like if you go and look at a team like Six Karma who play the mid round incredibly, they can lose the opening pick every single time and still win just so many rounds purely off that mid-round aggression that is timed so well. And I feel like that's something that West Garfield Park have been able to use in this map of Villa, is that mid-round aggression where they've been able to push themselves through and fight the HK Rebels wherever their attack comes from. West Garfield Park go to them to stop the HK Rebels from getting comfortable, setting up their execute, and really disrupting any sort of plan that they have.
Interesting to note that West Garfield are choosing to avoid trophy, which is, I mean, it went very well for them last time. They're over by the kitchen instead of bringing out that typical lineup that we see with Eddie. Just loves that arena. Right now he is popping with that Mark 17 EBR. So right now you really should not take that away from him as long as he can continue dominating these Rebels on the entry. And that is good to see that somebody really is stepping up for West Garfield Park. It wasn't there in that first map. I think 8 kills was actually the max we saw, maybe 9 from Rice, who is still doing very well on this map. But the ceiling is infinite for these two, as there's still 3 potential rounds that we could see, and those two are a big reason why West Garfield have such a definitive lead.
And although you don't have someone like Snake really popping off, he's still been impactful in these rooms, wasting a lot of time and enabling Eddie to do just amazing and incredible things. Nonetheless, though, he'll punch a hole into the wall, get punished for it immediately, by Burnt Turkey and leaves Eddie all alone on this round. But Bio is still supporting from the lower red stairs, so Eddie knows that he's at least not going to get pressured from that 90 hallway, at least on the deeper end of things, and still trying to stay alive. Will take a lot of damage, but still doing a great job of just wasting so much of the HK Rebel time.
There is a direct trade. The lion is gone, but Eddie still is not dead. Okay, Doug survives, does take a little bit of damage in the process, probably more than he should have, but Rebels still maintain that lead that they have. 4-2 in man count, and now with the time starting to go against this defense, there's a minute and 10 seconds for both Vipoa and Burnt Turkey to just destroy that floor. Funny enough, I think only one player is actually inside of the site. Remember correctly, one was in the basement, potentially walking up the pantry stairs right now, but this Valkyrie is going to get shot at from above, has to back off the site, and there is one. Could 3 more follow? Looking around, the time is starting to shift, and if Rebels do take a lot of damage, maybe take some deaths, then it will actually be their enemy by the end. Rice evens it up. It's 2-2, and he seems unstoppable. Only taking a little bit of damage in the process. It's 3 for him. Bio finishes off the last player, and just a tumble down a massive hill. HK Rebels' gigantic lead in the mid round falls apart just like that.
Rice is on one. That's all I'm going to say. Rice is winning the engagements he needs and utilizing the information that his team is providing via his own Valkyrie cameras and pulling these rounds back. Last time on the dining defense, him and Valor pulled back a 2 versus 4. This time on the dining defense, it's him and Bio to pull back a 2 versus 4. Really good stuff from them. But let's talk about the HK Rebels, who are fumbling on these rounds. They throw bodies away at nothing, virtually. They don't work together. They're not pushing themselves as one unit to go for the execute. Instead, they fall short, whether it's in the frag department or they overpeak without information. They don't work together on the executes like they typically do, like you typically see the HK Rebels, and they are fumbling massive rounds against West Garfield Park. This should be a 3-3 game at least for the HK Rebels. Instead, though, it's 5-1, and as we go into the half, the HK Rebels do love their defenses on Villa. We saw them win 5 defenses against McQueen's in round number 1, or in play day 1. So, they're not out of it yet, but there is a chance that West Garfield Park could close this map rather quickly.
Well, only 2 rounds, but I mean, the Rebels' attacks haven't been the greatest. I think defense definitely, look at the stats, are definitely their strong suit. I think maybe if West Garfield can win 1 out of 3 that we've got ahead of us, obviously, you know, that would be a path to success, but they just have to keep 1 step ahead of Rebels. Keep the rounds close, make it so that the team never really gets the confidence that they would need to discourage a lead such as this. And right now, get that opening pick, even though that has led to, you know, 2 rounds against you, that's still a very important part. Because Eddie, with the assistance of the drone, does go hunting, probably for that Abruni, a Burnt Turkey, who's lurking in the hallways over by Piano. The drone does spot it. He actually continues on his crusade through that hallway, with Eddie most surely on the hunt now.
Yeah, I'm worried for Burnt Turkey here. Eddie is hungry. You can tell he is hunting his prey of Burnt Turkey downstairs on this first floor. But Turkey is a player who does such a good job on Villa, especially to waste so much time, positions himself so nicely, and is shooting these drones out of favor of West Garfield Park and enabling his other teammates, such as JetCon, to find the picks that are needed to give themselves the advantage in this round. Even gas grenades being utilized to force Eddie into these maybe not so comfortable positions, and Turkey's still on this bottom floor, just playing to waste as much time as possible, maybe even winning some gunfights, or at least doing a lot of damage, as there's only 1 drone remaining in use here for West Garfield Park.
Eddie dangerously close to actually losing that one, but the fact that he win it is still the more important thing. He's gonna be able to frag grenade from underneath. That means Bio can now use that skeleton key shotgun to destroy the floor from underneath the defenders, and if you're able to find one, That's pretty big. That gives you the man count advantage. Maybe you could force this defender on main stairs to back up. But as that second smoke canister goes off, the frag grenade gets prepped. And there is no way Rai is ready for this. It plops all the way down. Keeps Rai alive at 1 health. And that's enough to deliver one pump to the dome of the Yana. And HK Rebels, they stay in the lead by a slim margin. As Eddie, he's going to push up the stairs. And along with the assistance of Bio, they are able to take it, push up to that second floor, and now potentially push on into the site. But with JetCon all the way back in the Classical Hall, peppering the rounds down that hallway, it's going to make actually attacking that site a lot harder. But with Eddie finding one, finding two onto Doug, who is not aware of his presence, that opens the site wide up. And now JetCon, with that shield not on his side, he's able to take out the diffuser, run away with his life, and caught lacking for a split second. West Garfield Park, that would have been map point, but instead HK Rebels sweep the rug out from under their feet.
And it came down to the lack of information from West Garfield Park, and we'll trade that round literally to Burnt Turkey, who was able to shut down all of the drones from WGP, waste so much time. Rai as well on the main stairs did a hell of a job to stop the team. But it came down to a poor plant spot choice from Rice to go all the way deep into the vault because they didn't know where JetCon was playing. They didn't know that he was in 90 hallway, had rotated around to Skull, and was able to simply win the round off of a rough plant choice from West Garfield Park, and all the time that was wasted in that round by HK Rebels. A beautiful job by them to win that one out. And JetCon definitely stealing a round away that maybe the HK Rebels don't quite deserve.
I'll tell you what, though, that was an exciting round. From Eddie being on 1 health, yet somehow finding 2 kills inside a study, to the Jaeger finding that. I mean, it's an exciting match so far, especially if Rebels, I mean, they have got their foot in the door so far. It's a little bit of how West Garfield Park barely stayed alive on Chalet. Obviously, the pressure is mounting a lot more on Rebels. They luckily won that first map, so all is not lost for this team. They do have one map to give, but you definitely want to win it here. Don't take West Garfield Park to bank, no matter the side on either, how good you feel on bank. If West Garfield Park are good on bank, you have the chance to close it out on Villa. Why not?
Well, 30 seconds have gone by, and really not much action to happen just as of yet. West Garfield Park trying to figure out exactly how they want to establish their footprint in the map, and that's not a good way to do it. Eddie hopping in blindly, lacking that information downstairs, self-droning, and simply Burnt Turkey rotating and catching him off guard in a very nice way. That's a great way to start off the round, taking off the top fragger, and one of the more impactful players so far in this map for West Garfield Park.
A bomb has been located.
Finding another one. He's been a little bit of a sleeping dragon. He was able to get a lot of the entries on the first map, but hasn't shown as much in this second map. But now he's able to find 2. Is more lurking around the corner. As Rice is still going to try to actually push this study side. But Burnt Turkey, he knows exactly where this position is. Habana Pelleter might actually give him another angle. Doesn't flinch from the flashes. He knows he's not being pushed. But silence between the 2 players. Rice can't make a move. Neither does Burnt Turkey, and every second that ticks down will give HK Rebels more power. And with Vipoa killing Valor, even if Burnt Turkey goes down, it's just a little dent in the defense of this round.
It's a pretty dysfunctional take coming from West Garfield Park. You're going to walk in at the very end of the round here and try to just see if you can make something happen. That's not going to be the case for Bio. Running into all of the utilities spread nicely by the HK Rebels, and a great round by Burnt Turkey to simply disrupt and stop West Garfield Park from taking the ground they wanted, and honestly, just being a big thorn to the side. There was really poor information overall from WGP, and that's easy enough for the HK Rebels to take advantage of because they are such a heavy winning defensive team.
Is that one round really going to come back to bite West Garfield Park in the butt? I feel like it is. Like there's a small part in my mind that's like West Garfield Park is going to come in here and win 6 rounds in a row. And one round would put West Garfield Park guaranteeing overtime It's a very small part of my mind. We're obviously like 4 rounds away from that happening. A lot can happen, and all West Garfield Park need is 25%. But there's still, you feel it, don't you?
Raise the roof.
I don't. Is that?
It's because our observer, our amazing observer who never observes and all of a sudden is observing.
My goat for me.
Is yeah, our goat for me. Was sitting on the roof for a solid 30 seconds. So I just
Look, he had the fuse.
I really loved
Somebody
it.
came in who's not used to observing. Took over.
To putting in hard work. I think we're being told that his controller died.
He did go to the bathroom. Oh my god.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so funny. That is a Ferme moment.
That's
if
just,
you
I was
if you know
referencing
Ferme, that's a Ferme moment.
in Brazil, in like VR6 or something of that. Oh my, that's beautiful.
I remember a specific moment where our producer here decided to leave the room at the CR6 Columbus land. We had a rehost, and that was quite a moment. So let's just say we love to have fun on the production side of things, don't we, guys?
I love these guys.
He's just everything's inaudible that he's saying. He's
I
just
can't
yelling
even
at our
hear you,
ears.
Mason. We're getting yelled at so much by Zay.
I don't even know. I don't even know what's happening in this round anymore.
Nothing's
far,
happened.
Though, yeah, truthfully. You got some of the walls open, which is nice for West Garfield Park. You get that triple wall open. You also have the pantry wall open. So some control being established, and now finally getting those entries into the top floor. But you've got to be careful for that pulse, for the C4s from below. And I'm not sure if Snake is quite aware of what could be waiting underneath. It could be a very explosive batch of C4 waiting to be primed and ready. It goes off, but does not find its target. And now Doug has to be careful because Valor has crept his way into the bomb site. This could be massive for the West Garfield Park. He finds one on a JetCon, but is refragged by Doug. So nicely done to stop the bleeding before it got out of hand.
You still make that small incision, taking out JetCon. That is 1 C4 and 1 gun inside the actual site, but instead you lose the Talon shields. It's something that HK Rebels really tried to use in that last dying seconds when they did attack Kitchen. And with the fact that Eddie is still alive is a pretty important thing. You're still going to be able to, you know, shoot down on into the site. Still got 3 frag grenades as well in the pocket of Snake and Eddie. You have to actually start utilizing the utility that you have, because that's going to be your one key to success. Rice pushes up into pantry. He encounters Doug, who takes him out. Simple as that. And now more West Garfield Park players are going to try and fail to attack that kitchen site. Now just 2 more players of West Garfield Park stand between HK Rebels and 1 round from tying things up. And Eddie, he's going to try to frag grenade things. Going to be unsuccessful. Does down Rai and gets the kill. So add 1 onto his 12 kills that he's got in this map. But it's not going to be enough to guarantee the round for them. Vipoa gets that finishing touch. And like I said, 1 round away from tying everything up.
A disrespectful drop shot to close things out for the HK Rebels, but another solid defensive round. And even though they lost JetCon early, I saw him hop on cams, flip those bodies, and the information was there. He provided a wonderful amount of information. That's something you can do as a player, even if you're dying early, even if you're maybe not providing the support in the kill column for your team, as JetCon has kind of lacked this map as compared to Chalet. He is still providing that information so keenly for HK Rebels to take advantage of. You see him working the Valkyrie cameras, guiding Vipoa to success, guiding Doug to success. The information game is rolling for HK Rebels as they complete a flawless defensive half, which they desperately needed after being down 5-1.
I'm going to go off of that point you said. Have you ever played the Modern Warfare 2019 mission where you have to literally guide somebody with cameras? You ever played that mission?
I play that mission in R6 all the time because I always do something really stupid to die early, and then I do the JetCon roll where I sit on cams and try my best to enable everyone else.
Exactly, that's the whole point. You tell everybody where the enemies are. You're like, okay, you can go here now. It's clear. All right, you got to worry about this enemy. You shoot him out, avoid him, do whatever you want to do. or literally playing Call of Duty. Like, some may say that the meta we are in
No,
is...
we're playing Rainbow Six Siege.
Let me do my thing, Mason. Okay. This meta, some compare the meta to Call of Duty with how very fast it is, run and gun. And there's been a lot of like, do we take one-shot headshots away, da-da-da-da-da. But it can provide some very fast action, like we have seen in some of these rounds with some rush attempts, with some crazy plays. I think potentially like JetCon. I'm just thinking of the Jaeger getting that one shot onto the defusing player, because that is going to haunt West Garfield Park. I just know it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been haunting them because the HK Rebels are all of a sudden back in this game after they once looked completely out of it. They have clawed their way back here on Villa, and it's something that they always are able to do. I don't know what it is about this map, but they are just so good at, even if they go down early, even if they struggle somehow on their attacks, their defenses are just so well done, well prepared, and baked up to perfection for to be successful and to find themselves atop the scoreboard and the map overall.
Hey, 2-7. He's not getting a lot. He shoots JetCon, but doesn't get the finish. And instead, Doug is going to peek. There was no way he knew that Doug was there as well. So the lack of information, it's coming to kill West Garfield. It's 2 down in the pocket. And Valor, he's going to sadly walk down 90 without Snake and Eddie. He does take out JetCon, enters the site, and finds 2. Rice is there to find 2 as well. I am left scratching my head. Surely HK Rebels have to be left scratching their head. Okay, why defend when you can just shoot opponent?
I literally just walked through 90, like bot walked, all the way up into books, completely catching HK Rebels with their pants down. And a round that West Garfield Park probably shouldn't have gotten, but it really came off of the HK Rebels just not being aware of where WGP were coming through. Incredible play by Valor, by the way, to just simply open it up by walking through. And sometimes when you're playing the support role, when you're playing the hard breach, you get frustrated and you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'll hit the button. And you walk in and hold the W key. And Valor found that moment. He thought he had it in the last round in the kitchen attack. Didn't quite get all the picks he was looking for, but this time around, very much able to do so.
And that does give them the 1 round that they need. So, looking at the kills for everybody so far. Rice and Eddie, 24 combined kills, very impressive on their part. But then you look at HK Rebels, Rai and JetCon. I mean, Rai is a little bit more support oriented, but you have to think that JetCon maybe can do a little bit more, just like Snake can probably be doing a little bit more for West Garfield. But unlike JetCon, West Garfield Park have those 2 players at the top who've got 12 kills, who are constant enablers overall. Even though Rebels are pretty consistent over their top 3, they haven't had that impact that West Garfield Park has had in the map overall, in my eyes, especially with Eddie and Rice. Like, you can always really count on them to win a lot of their gunfights, or at least deal a lot of damage overall. Make it close.
If I'm Snake, I'm saying, you know what, Eddie? We're doing a great job. You know what, Rice? We're doing a great job. We're combining for 14 kills. We're really putting in the hard work here.
Wow, you're really doing like that. Wow. Also, that's
No,
you
'cause
stole that
I
joke
would-
from John. You stole that joke
I
from
would say
John.
the same thing. What do you mean? They're combining for 14 kills. They're doing a good job.
No, you stole that joke from John.
Is that something that John says? I don't
it was
really.
like when Wimpy had 0 kills by like the end of the game, and I think it was
I definitely didn't take that from John, but that's pretty funny.
Well, all right, I'll give you a pass.
You know,
here, then.
John and I are on that same brain length. It's just he's like 7 feet taller than me, so he also has that wavelength.
The forehead provides an extra
Yeah,
foot.
that's true. It does give me some of the extra height needed to balance out to John. But still, even then, I feel like I need to be on a box next to that man. Ugh. Well, nonetheless, though, to kind of track back to your point, you're right. You're absolutely right. Eddie and Rice are going big in this map and in this series so far. On the other end, for the Rebels, they don't really have any standout performers. I will say Vipoa and Burt Torquay are still looking good. Doug is performing as per usual. But JetCon is definitely one of those bodies who I kind of had as one of those target guys that I want to see step up and perform well for the HK Rebels. He's quiet on this map. When he was shooting on Chalet, the Rebels look great. This time around on Villa, he's a little quiet, and it shows as to why they are maybe struggling more so than typical.
I think the good thing is Burnt Turkey's still here. Burnt Turkey, especially on the defense, where Rebels have really started to find their stride, he is there. He gets that opening pick onto Snake, and even though it's West Garfield who actually dropped two, Valor does go down with the super shorty from Vipoa, so that extravagant entry actually finds something as Vipoa goes for the peak, goes down, and now leaves both sides on a 2v2. Bio is damaged a little bit, so he can take a lot of these early gunfights, but Burnt Turkey, who was there the first player to get the kill, and is probably the player that HK Rebels are looking for to confirm this out. Rai needs to put in pressure and can get the kills. This can be his time to shine, but there's a lot of time on the clock for West Garfield to drone. They've still got some flashbangs that they can choose to utilize, but Bio's drone gonna set itself up, see if it can get all the angles it needs.
And that's all you're going to have when you go for this push, is I think it's the time for West Garfield Park. They're waiting on the Rebels to see if they maybe make a mistake, maybe overpeak, but they're pretty much comfortable. They're set in stone here inside of Bricks, and also Statue are looking in a trophy. They'll rotate around, though, West Garfield Park being the rotators as they work their way on through, and Burnt Turkey seems to have a read into this, but I do think the better choice of action for West Garfield Park is to walk in through trophy. They have nice information onto Rai and are aware of the positioning, but they're so split apart. Why are Bio and Rice not working together to walk in and take this fight as a duo? Instead, they're going to look to just win their ones, and now they double pick. A very nice job as Bio takes down Burnt Turkey. Rai is going to have to clutch. He's able to do it many times before, but as the diffuser goes down, now it's a 1 versus 2, and the post plant is on. Rai gets the 1 kill onto Bio. A pre-fire nearly finds the head of Rice, but in the HP disadvantage and the information disadvantage is Rai. He's going to have to try to win this one off of simple knowledge and intuition. Still dancing around the site is Rai and Rice, but Rai is still not quite aware of where Rice is repositioned to. Now understands that the player is inside of Astronomy and will head over towards the diffuser. Rice is a little better at that engagement, wins it from atop the Astro Stairs, and West Garfield Park this time take their opponent's map pick of Villa. It is the Collegiate Special V, just as you said.
And ring around the rosy. I think that's what that final one was, and still, it was West Garfield, who in those Valkyrie was a very, very big part of the previous. So she hasn't been banned, though. I could expect a ban, but also Azami and Solus are pretty strong on bank. I mean, you got to choose one or the other. An operator that you don't ban is going to have a big impact on this map.
I mean, here's the difference. If the HK Rebels don't ban Solus, West Garfield Park are going to play Solus, because if there's one person that I imagine loves Solus on bank, because I've seen him play it so much in SCS, in SFCL, is Eddie. Eddie abuses Solus, especially on bank, just because you really get the freedom to run around when you know that there aren't drones, there isn't information on you. Nook being off the board, that's going to stop any sort of lurk play coming through. You saw the HK Rebels try to take advantage of it. They got sometimes, and sometimes they were stuffed pretty hard on the lurk. West Garfield Park not really going for most of those lurks, but instead they take out the Cade, which is going to leave a lot of those information-based defenders up for both teams.
So now, this last one for HK Rebels, I mean, you mentioned you take out
it has to be Solus.
Yes.
It has to be Solus. If it's me and I look at the other team that I'm playing against, West Garfield Park, you ban Solus, and they do so exactly, and they really needed to. But you do have to be worried about those Valkyrie cameras and the lack of being able to find them. I feel like the IQ play from Doug has not been exquisite enough from the HK Rebels to take away that info. So that's kind of the trade-off you have to go with, though, in the end.
As right now, they're not bringing a Valkyrie here. Instead, having that Mira, which, I mean, I want to mention Azami, because she's, one of that constant bans. So we are going to see her from Doug. Is this a map that she is pretty strong on, or is it kind of site to site, or is this one where you can maybe bring her? What are your thoughts on Azami?
A zombie anywhere is good. Let's be real. A zombie anywhere is good. It just depends on how you use it. Typically, you're gonna see Doug probably on a roam with the Azami and just wasting as much time from West Garfield Park as possible. That's how you typically see a zombie played out on Bank. Is more so instead of creating those longer angles and those more solid defensive positions, you're going to see Doug Fortnite building all around the map and just popping up Kiva barriers anywhere to try to displace the West Garfield Park attack.
Imagine Rainbow Six with literal Fortnite building.
That is literally what a zombie is.
I mean, I guess if you're building a Fortnite wall, but it's not like that one CSGO clip where somebody's trying to clutch on, I think it's Inferno.
Yes,
and they just start Fortnite building. Okay, we got sorry. We got to stop talking about CSGO Inferno because I think we're about to see a rush from West Garfield Park. Because Snake is just bursting open these barricades. I mean, they've got a Monty. Why not just roll yourselves inside the site? There's only one C4. Clearly, that's what they're setting up.
This is rather clear for an entire server tank to come through. Bio can simply walk on in. As long as the C4 is trucked and shot out nicely by West Garfield Park, they're easily going to get this diffuser down. Snake's going to sledge open the rest of that wall and enable Rice a free pathway to walk on through. It's going to be pivotal for Valor to win this fight and try to be one of those pains in the necks in the backside, but he gets brought down. Jetcon with the smoke denial does a great job of stopping this diffuser from going down, and so far, HK Rebels are completely stuffing the direct take that West Garfield Park thought they had.
It's a good one. You still have the C4 as well from Rai, so the setup seemed to be there. They clearly had some level of information, and now they're going to try to use that smoke canister just to gain a little bit of a difference between them and their opponents. But that black here, it's just so strong. The smokes have to be played in the right area, and the fact that the C4 is still here. There's still, I think, 2 smoke canisters. One is dissipating right now, and one is still in the pocket of JetCon, but West Garfield Park, they're still trying to force the server side with Eddie up on top. That is an alternative angle that they can use. Frag grenade source through takes out Rai, so you don't have that C4 anymore, and you can probably actually commit to this take if you truly want, but there's time. You can still use Eddie, can still provide a lot of pressure up top, and as the diffuser goes down, Bio halfway done. Eddie just throws out a frag grenade, maybe tries to get some distance, but instead goes down, and now the pressure is on the defense to get things done with a Montaigne as their opponent. Nothing you ever want to be in is a Montaigne in a post-plant situation. Vipoa and Burnt Turkey are going to push towards blue, and Vipoa does get the pick, and now Montaigne is stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he just gets crushed. So Rebels, they start off that first round with a good little win of their own.
I will say, though, I love the play from Eddie to rotate around, walk down the marble stairs, and be a distraction and a complete hindrance for those 2 players at the top of the hatch control. The HK Rebels failed to communicate, hey, there's a guy coming from here. One of you needs to hold that. One of you needs to hold the hatch to stop the plant from going down. And Eddie did enough, although did not find the kills, was able to waste enough of the HK Rebel time to get the plant down. Unfortunately, Bio took too much damage from the smoke, and also you had to fight like a 3 versus 1, 3 versus 2 with a Monty on 1 HP. It's pretty difficult to do for West Garfield Park in that situation, but with maybe 1 extra body, or if Eddie was able to sneak a pick in that upstairs engagement, West Garfield Park actually could have had a chance at winning that round. It really just came down to HK Rebels playing a very nice retake on the defense overall.
Also as well, just the ability to confirm the kill onto the select. Just easy as that, because not only did you have, I think it was the last player alive, I think Burnt Turkey was on the Vigil. So basically whoever was on Vigil did not have a lot of health. And I think 1 or 2 bullets from that LED5 would have put them down, and so you would leave somebody in a 1v1 with a Monty. Which, I mean, you don't want to go up against a Montaigne in a post-plant, but a 1v1 is one of the worst things that you could have. But then again, Montaigne on basement of Bank, those, like... You remember Heroic, Mason?
Do I remember Heroic?
Do you remember the funny clip of...
Who's Heroic? What's an EU?
Well, okay. It's not like they won the SI or anything.
Heroic
like
won
EU.
SI?
No, EU won it.
EU won SI. Who's EU? I don't know who EU is.
I don't get it, man. Look, I'm
I'm
in
just
a
yanking-
pickle, but
I'm just yanking your chain. Wow, words are hard. Words are difficult here today. And I have the other game after this too, so I'm really gonna be going
Look at
through
that.
it. Because when Ariel and Orbit played last time, they went 3 maps and they went deep in all 3. So, I'm in for a long night, but that's okay. That's okay. That's why I get warmed up with you, and then when Joe comes in, I'll just make him. Yeah. No. Maybe.
yeah, all right. I feel the vibe. I see it. That's how it is. All right. I take over. Okay, you can sit back, warm up your voice. Burnt Turkey doesn't get things started on the entry. He shot down from Eddie, who was seeming to start off a round, and now he gets his second. And from Gen Con, Vipoa is there to find a direct refrag onto Biologic. That is the hard breach. You still have those candle burners if you truly desire. Maybe push from archives. But the fact that a lot of your roam simply isn't there anymore, especially with Vipoa just peeking as well, it was an easy shot for Snake. Now there's really no roam up on that top floor. I mean, the Rebels, they really didn't have a hole to begin with. It was just a papier-mâché house.
Yeah, and West Garfield Park kind of have all the control they need. They also have the information, as Eddie's going to go for this wall bang. Not able to find it because there's a couple walls you got to get through. And G36C does not have the punch-through power that is needed, or the stopping power to be able to fight its way through those walls. But Snake certainly does, especially with the skeleton key. Nonetheless, though, Rai and Doug are going to have to claw their way back in this round. It's going to be difficult because with all the util, the information by West Garfield Park, you were kind of scared here if you're HK Rebels. 20 seconds remain, and West Garfield Park have slowed down a lot in this round, trying to set themselves up for success, and that's a nice pick to come through from Doug, downing the player in the flag hallway as well. The rotate to come through. Rai collects 2. All of a sudden, it's a 1 versus 2 for Snake, who collects the kill on the Doug, but the diffuser begins to go down. Rai recognizes this, should know where the diffuser is going down. How do the HK Rebels pull this round back? Rai just has to hit the shots on the Snake, but is not able to do so. Whips out the shotgun. Will have to go deep with the range, do a little bit of chip damage, but now has pinned Snake into a corner. Should be able to win this fight. Easily able to do so. A nice clutch from Rai to close out the round for the Rebels.
You don't lose those with the Mossberg. It is the one gun you won. You don't lose those as Rebels. It's another 1vx. It's another post-plant situation of West Garfield Park putting that diffuser down, and it's just HK Rebels being calm, using that post-plant. And Rai had a very good, I mean, the fact that you were able to get 3 just like that, I'm shocked we didn't get to see it, but it's very good to add to his kill counter. I think he's already gotten close to eclipsing what he had in the previous round. As now Rebels, I mean, defense is their strong suit, and we can see it. They've gotten 2 so far, looking to get 3, and this is the best we've seen from them from the start of a round. I think West Garfield Park has every single map so far in those first 2 gotten the first 2 rounds. And from then on, it's just been a spiral back and forth. But the narrative's changed a little bit here, Mason.
You are absolutely correct. And also 2 plants to go down in these first 2 rounds. It's quite rare, but West Garfield Park are one of those teams that are really good at playing the objective, trying to get the diffuser down, working around there. It's just the HK Rebels have been a little bit better when it comes to the retake or the aggression that they foster. I mean, Doug and Rai should not be allowed to get away with that run, especially with how much control the West Garfield Park had, the information they had. They just failed to act off of it. They waited for seemingly no reason and instead gave the Rebels enough time to rotate, find a couple picks, and claw themselves back into the round. You don't want to do that if you're West Garfield Park, especially against the Rebels, who are really good on defense, and you want to win as many of them as you can and take away that attacking prowess that the Rebels also might show.
In that Montaigne again. I'm on the CEO side. It's a little bit more uncommon because there's not just one area you can really put that Montaigne into. and it's just completely shielded off from the defense.
If I may interject.
Okay, am I
briefly.
incorrect?
I watched. No. You're right. I mean, sometimes you see the Monty for the spiral stairs push, and that's exactly what West Garfield Park do. They actually did this yesterday against Lycus. The only thing that I had with the issue with their take that I want to say is that they had no one helping Bio at the top of the spiral stairs. Once Valor died, it was kind of that one body to help them out. There was really no support for Bio, who ended up being punished, and West Garfield Park just kind of stalled out on the rest of the round. So I'd like to see them work a little bit better as a team overall to help support Bio, get up these spiral stairs, get into the executive office, and find their way into the site.
And it seemed like that was still follow with Bio. How did that happen? There was no defender around.
I don't want to know, but
shoot a camera, maybe?
That's a kill. That's a kill, and that's a Valor dead. Yikes.
Well, yeah. Moving on from that. However it happened, you still lose Valor, and you still lose half of your frag grenades on a round that you probably need to win. Bio's still going to push up those spiral stairs. He is going to get stunned, and the hop out from Doug is unsuccessful. There's a lot of damage to Eddie, but not enough to be lethal. Bio gets down, does get the confirm, and now Rai does not have any more smoke canisters, but that big shield man has been dealt with. The smokes are going to be valuable, but not as valuable as with the Montana alive, and Rai still holding on the desk. JetCon to his side. All the angles are really being watched, because as long as you don't deal with Eddie on the windows, the spiral stair take should be pretty easy. But Rai just gets caught looking, and now with Vipoa finding that kill onto Rice, it's a 2v2. Once again, we're getting to the dire seconds, the dire man counts, Mason, of which HK Rebels has always come out on top. And Snake didn't have a great second map, but he's looking to change it on the third one. He's 5-2. He's got to add 2 to his name, but it's JetCon who gets that finish. And HK, they've got 3 to their name so far, looking to add more as they can head right back down to the basement.
So it's exactly what I said happened yesterday happened again, where Bio walked up top spiral and there was no one to help. So Rai literally walked behind him and shot him in the back. Like, the same issue that happened yesterday, you should be able to learn from, with just a little bit of like, hey, this is what happened in the game yesterday. The Rebels take advantage of, and you lose the Monty, and that's a lot of what you're banking on this push to really get started. Also, that TK on the Valor is certainly not helpful, and him being stunted and starting off rather slow is not helpful. I mean, you have 3 players with no kills, and you are not going to be successful if you do not kill the opposing team. It is a first-person shooter, and West Garfield Park are really not playing like it's a first-person shooter.
And it's good to see Snake get back to his good old position, but that was not what we meant when we said that Snake needs to step up. Everybody
Snake has
should
6
not...
picks. I will say Snake has 6 kills.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, though. It wasn't meaning that the 3 players should step down. Like, you don't want that. You want everybody on equal footing, not one player on a podium over everybody, and that's what's happening right now. It's a big reason why, despite the fact that in almost every single round, Diffuser has been put down in 2 of them, a lot of these rounds have been close as well with post plans. It's still HK Rebels who have 3, because only Eddie and Snake have been able to get kills. They're still committing to the Monty on the basement side. It was unsuccessful with their bullets, smoke canisters, a C4. They're gonna have to try something different, but they're still bringing out the shield.
Yeah. I'm just not sure if I love the Monty play being brought up from Bio, especially when West Garfield Parker is struggling and, well, shooting. Then you bring a shield, which is not a shooter. So it only makes your job a lot more difficult. Nonetheless, though, they're going to go for the same type of take where they walk through server. But this time around, that blue hatch has been opened up. You also have Burnt Turkey, who's able to find the opener onto Eddie. He's actually ran outside, and he's going to get cut off. If he wins this engagement, it'll be insane. And I don't think he will. Valor should have the info in the pre-fire. But still, Burnt Turkey can just waste so much of Valor's time here, and at least takes away a little bit of that. Could enable someone, for example, Vipoa, who's inside of Archives, work a little bit of a flank or get some extra ground. But nonetheless, West Garfield Park have stalled out pretty hard, and with all the Vulcan canisters and 3 gas grenades still in pocket here for HK Rebels, I'm not sure what WGP's plan is here, Steve.
See, one Goyo canister is popped. There's a second one on the door. It has been actually seen by the attack, but they haven't dealt with it just yet. It is going to be popped, so it's about 30 seconds before we will actually see an execution happen. And then you've got 3 smoke canisters. And you've also got a C4 in the pocket of Briar. It's always what you see on the basement side, but Bio gets taken out somehow, waiting for the fire to disappear. Valor gets caught on the open area jump-in. Even though Snake does get a kill, still one of the only players to have a kill to his name, throws a frag grenade in, trying to make up for that huge gap between them and the attack. There's another Yo-Yo canister, and there's no way they are getting in the site. They are going to have to rush it with 15 seconds left. A player watching the hatch, a player in the garage, and a player watching the site directly. All eyes are on that. Rice is going to go for somewhat of a change. He encounters Doug, is able to take him down, but now he is the only player left. He just has to drop the hatch at this point. That is the only option that's available. Down goes the drop, and bullets are immediately going to hit his body. It's just a round where you leave yourself scratching your head, wondering what is going on with West Garfield Park.
How does Bio die on the mod team?
That's the big thing.
Because Bio was in server and died to JetCon, who was behind the mirror and lockers. So I don't know what Bio was doing, whether he simply like was completely unaware of his position, or I don't know what happened at all. I really can't explain it. And it's pretty unreal to see this poor play coming out from West Garfield Park, who has historically been pretty decent, but all of a sudden are just falling apart and getting shredded by the HK Rebels' rock-solid defense. Like I said again, they are a more heavy-based defending team, and they were 3-0 in SFCL. They beat some pretty damn good teams, especially a team like Orbit, and now they are manhandling West Garfield Park. That's what I will say. That's the only way I can really classify this. V is simply HK Rebels have grabbed West Garfield Park and just do whatever they want with them, because West Garfield Park try to push in, and the Rebels just... they can do whatever they feel and still end up being successful.
On this map, if HK Rebels are a defender-based team, then West Garfield Park are a attacking cringe team. They are looking like that in the biggest way possible. They're still going to have some vertical play. No sledge this time. Snake is instead going to bring out the bug, so you potentially have that C8 create multiples in some vertical areas. Maybe that's the reason why. You do lose a set of frag grenades. I think is a choice that you may want to bring back as you put a lot of pressure onto Eddie. But right now, West Garfield Park, they're going to have to try something a little bit desperate now. Because if you don't win this round, it's a 5-0. And you would have to win so many rounds on your defensive side, even though you would have an advantage on the defense. Rebels looking like they're going to go 6-0 on this half. Down goes your big vertical player, because Burnt Turkey is there to get that opening pick.
I just feel like I never see cohesion and teamwork to go and work these roamers who are all around the place. JetCon was waiting for Valor to lurk in through lobby and easily secures that pick. Vipella also takes down Eddie. I mean, HK Rebels, they're on track to win their 5th straight round, and there's been no adaptation, no changes coming from West Garfield Park. They're just getting stuffed currently, V. There's nothing they can do against this HK Rebels team because no one is showing up on the frag board for West Garfield Park. Bio still at no kills, Valor with only 1, Rice with only 1, and you saw, if West Garfield Park wants to win maps, they need Valor and Rice and Eddie to be showing up and getting those frags.
I'm still somewhat on their side. They have drones that can be utilized, 2 in Rice's pocket, 1 in Bio's, but there's no way you can drone out all these roaming. And I mean, you've got Vipoa over by the blue. You got a player in Archive, and with Bio pushing into Electrical, he is immediately going to have so many crosshairs to snap towards his position. There's no way he peeked. They're playing so uncoordinated and questionable, and just I don't know what is happening with West Garfield Park. Rice is going to be able to walk in, finds a kill, has to reload. The Type 89 has a very small magazine. He's going to go through that rotate, but he has to find 4 players in 30 seconds. A good shot onto Burn Turkey makes it a little easier, but JetCon is there for the refrag. 5 looking to go on 6. All Rebels have to do is win one more CEO deep.
And when it comes down to it, West Garfield Park, it's kind of one of those rounds where it's a 5v2. You really just have to try to make something happen. Bio swing with the pistol. I'm not sure if that's the something that I would have chose.
Yeah, that's
but nonetheless, it again was just so out of place because of the decimation that really came through from the top floor. HK Rebels just completely obliterated West Garfield Park up top. There was no cohesive execute. On Bank, sometimes you have to kind of do a double execute against teams. You have to not only execute on the top floor, wherever the defense is holding, but also you have to execute on the actual bomb site. And West Garfield Park are failing to do either, as they failed to execute on the bomb site. They did it in the first 2 rounds, get the plants down, but since then have failed to do so entirely. And HK Rebels are still, yet again, finding these advantages, not getting traded out, and are reading into the way that West Garfield Park are playing so easily that they continue to run away with this match.
Alright.
5 seconds left.
Setting up for still it's still possible for West Garfield Park to get one on CEO and then slowly but surely start to churn their way back. Doug does go for a peek. And, well, it's unsuccessful, but he doesn't take any damage, doesn't deal any damage in the process. It's just a total wash as all. Eddie is getting inside of the building early on from the basement, probably going to work his way up, as it seems that most of West Garfield Park are going to kind of go from the window, maybe from that printer side, the square side that you would usually see team start to attack from. But right now, I mean, it looks like it's still the same type of attack from West Garfield Park, the same one that has had them lose 5 rounds in a row.
Yeah, you pretty much said it. I mean, there's really not much else I could say. They at least, thank for God, are not bringing the Monty, because it's been something they've struggled with utilizing it properly on most of these sites. So we'll have to see what they're able to do this time around. But I mean, bringing the IQ, there's really no Valkyrie cameras. There's no one that's going to be impacted by the bringing of the IQ. You really need the utility to be able to break down the defensive hold with the Azami barricades, the Casto barricades, the deployable shield. You don't have that utility by bringing someone like IQ. And I'm not sure if it's just a weapon crutch that Eddie's trying to hop on and see if he can just make something work and find some picks, but nonetheless, West Garfield Park get in below and start to make work happen, as Eddie eventually does find a pick, this time on to Burnt Turkey, and kicks things off here for West Garfield Park.
It's the only other entry that we've seen besides round 2, which was the closest round, that ended in the 1v1, and there isn't a direct response from HK Rebels. A wall gets open, defensive utility is being utilized with a minute left in the round. It's the best we've seen from West Garfield Park so far, as JetCon Peaks does spot the player right outside the window, but doesn't take the engagement. Valor having to hop in if he really wants to try to win out the gunfight. And I think that's the best option for HK Rebels here. They have space. They have a dwindling amount of time left, but with Eddie just ready for Rai to walk down the hallway, it's getting more and more dire for this defense. Rice is putting down the diffuser, and nobody in the defense is really there to counter it. They're able to put down that diffuser. Snake does get dropped, but West Garfield Park, they put themselves on the board. It's a little late, but it's not a 6-0. They just have to win 5 rounds, potentially 6 if they want to stay in this.
Oh, I don't even know what to say. Like, even though West Garfield Park won that round, and that was really off the back of Eddie just kind of finding picks and distracting the Rebels enough to where they could go for their execute, there's plays like Valor, who is sitting outside a stock for 2 minutes and put his pellet on the wall with like 35 seconds remaining. It's like, why is it taking him that long to realize he needs to open that wall? I get he's working it solo, so yes, like, you do have to be somewhat cautious, but it's just some of these things where it's like, you have to be proficient in the round. You have to always be doing something, always be contributing to an effort in the round. And I feel like that's something that we haven't gotten from West Garfield Park on their attacks. Is I don't think that everyone has been really actively doing something in the round to contribute to their success. Instead, it's kind of waiting around trying to hope that something happens, and it's just not happening in that case for West Garfield Park. Nonetheless, though, we go to their defense. This is where they've tracked much better records overall in the maps, but HK Rebels winning 5 attacks, that means they only have to win 2. Very well played, nice attacks to close this map.
We were here before. It was Rebels who were on the one side of the 5-1, and they started winning rounds. They won 3 before West Garfield Park started waking up, before they got the 2 rounds that they needed to secure themselves over the finish line. And a lot of times, like it's been through the entire series, entry picks. How are Rebels going to approach the situation? How are they going to approach any defenders of West Garfield Park? Because there's not any directly around the corner. You've got some potentially in open area, one, I believe, by Long Desk. And all of those can be approached with a good pinch. But Vipoa just walks the garage, takes down Rice, and one more on the corner. But Bio does escape with his life. You can't say the same for Valor. And right now, with HK Rebels dropping the hatch, they do lose 2 members, but Jekon is right there to find one. Another down, and Eddie is left in that 1v3. A situation that he probably did not want to be in, nor was he ready for. And HK Rebels, they just storm onto the site. 3 players alive, and put themselves on series point.
They were inside a vault, and West Garfield Park had no clue. And that really came off of the back of Vipoa, who made their way through Garage, I think it was Vipoa at least, and found not only one pick, but also distracted enough of West Garfield Park to completely train away the pulse, which was Bio. And Bio on that pulse is responsible for trying to figure out exactly where HKR are coming from. Instead, he was then detracted and had to go fight that Garage player, which allowed the HK Rebels to sneak behind the backside, drop down the vault hatch, and catch West Garfield Park off guard. They are 1 round away from securing a spot in the semifinals and moving themselves on. West Garfield Park are many rounds away from even tying this one up and potentially getting themselves back into this match where they have had their ups and their downs the entire series, V.
It has been a very up and down series. They looked a little lost on map 1, found their footing, and then I don't know what's going on with Bank. It is a question that I don't think really will be answered, but HK Rebels, I mean, they have felt like the same team throughout the entire night. It's just how they have adapted to West Garfield Park. They were ready on Shellline. They were able to play the map better, and then there were certain times where their playstyle was just being countered by West Garfield Park. They weren't able to stabilize. They didn't have some flank watches in certain areas, and that really did kill them. Snake on a last-ditch effort going for the spawn peak. You just give a lot to HK Rebels with that, and like I said, it was a last-ditch effort that might end up in a very big reward for HK Rebels at this point, and we're gonna see a very fast round, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Doug is inside with a shotgun, but is cut down by Rice. Very nice to react to the player, literally, who walked into the bomb site. Bio takes a lot of damage from Rai. This attack is all over the place from the Rebels. I'm not a huge fan, but I will say West Garfield Park are worse for wear on the damage end of things. Well, they account for not even 2 bodies worth of HP, as Eddie and Rice have both been brought down to half. Vipoa winning that fight onto Bio is not a good sign if you're West Garfield Park. With 2 minutes to find one last body, they close it out with ease. HK Rebels will move on in SFCL playoffs, stamping their spot 1 step closer to the ultimate grand final here in SFCL.
And going down, not with a gigantic roar